Hey guys, it's Carissa, and this is my channel, Inky Fairy Designs, and thank you guys for watching. Today is Stamp Stash Saturday, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that during the video, but right now I want to show you the stamp that I'm using is this Kraftin Kimmie stamp. It's called Angie, and she's holding a coffee cup, and I have a little bit of an obsession buying stamps that have coffee on them, whether they're sentiments or coffee cups or just little characters holding coffee. I love them. And so I have some, and this is one of them, and I wanted to use her today. So Stamp Stash Saturday is where I go into my stamp stash and I'm pulling out stamps that I've never used before, and I'm going to use them. So in watercoloring today, I'm showing you that I always have like 2 cups of water on my desk when I'm watercoloring. I'll have a paper towel nearby so that I can wipe off my brush if it gets too wet. The watercolors that I'm using today are these Jane Davenport watercolors, and this is a combination of her brights palette and her neutral palette. I put them in one palette, the pretty teal one, because that's one of my favorite colors. And so I combined the skin tones that I like from her neutral palette, and then also all of the brights are in this palette, I think. So sand, buff, spice, those are my favorite go-to for skin tones. I know a lot of people were asking me that when I was posting this picture on Instagram and on Facebook. So that's what I use for my skin tones. Although I do see now at Creativation, Prima is coming out with a skin tone palette, watercolors, so I might have to check that out. So I use my Silver Black Velvet watercolor brushes to watercolor, and I'm using my 2 smallest, number 2 round and number 4 round, and then when I get to the background I'm going to use my number 8 round. And earlier in the video I was showing you not to leave your brushes in water because you could see that my my brush was all messed up and a lot of the coating was off because I left it in water. So don't do that, and take care of your brushes better than I do. It still works though. And let's see, so I am starting off with my watercoloring on, let me back up just a second. I am watercoloring on Canson watercolor paper. It's hot pressed, and it's the Moulin de Roy, and it's just what I'm using because I had a huge sheet of it and I cut it down, and I'm just kind of using it up. It's not my favorite by far, but I just wanted to let you guys know what I'm watercoloring on today. If you hear me patting, I don't know if the mic's catching that, but I do have my little 2-month-old in a wrap while I'm doing this voiceover, so I'm trying to keep her quiet, and so if you hear me patting her back, that's what's going on. I stamped my image with Versafine Onyx Black. That's my go-to watercoloring ink. And then I do a combination of wet on wet and then dry watercoloring. And basically wet on wet is where I will bring some clean clear water onto my image before I bring any of the paint. And that just kind of acts to me as like a primer for my paint. My paint will burst and start spreading and moving on my paper easier. Also, if you have a wet area, it's going to stay within that wet area. So if I put water all on her face like I did, and then I brought in some color, it's not going to go outside the lines. So that's one way. As long as you didn't color any of the water outside the lines, your paint is going to stay inside the lines. So I know a lot of people are asking me how do I watercolor these images, and so I'm going to do my best to explain, but they're really, it's weird to me because I don't really have a method. I don't think about it too much. I am just, watercolors I have a passion for, and I love them, and they kind of inspire me, and we just have a good time together, me and the watercolors. So what I will do is you'll see that here on the hair, I'm putting down just kind of like a flat wash of some of the color. I think I was using Kiss Kiss. I'm not sure. But I was just putting down a flat color wash all along her hair. And then I'm going to come in with this cocoa color, and I'm going to kind of bring in some more dimension and give her brown hair, but she'll have the highlights of that blonde that I put down first. So that's kind of how I look at hair. And a lot of part of the image I'll do the same way. I'll put down a wash, and then I'll come in with some shadow colors, either in the same family or different shadow colors, and I will just add that wherever I think a shadow would be. For her robe, I did the wet on wet technique, where I just put water all over her where that robe was, and then I just colored it all. I think I used the 70s, oh no, I used the mermaid color from the palette. I actually have a swatch sheet for this palette, so I can tell you what colors I'm using. Some of my other palettes I don't have swatch sheets, so I need to get on that. So then I like to leave some white areas. That's the other thing that I like to do when I'm watercoloring, just to leave some highlights. It actually makes your image kind of pop off the page a little bit more. It gives more of a 3D look. For, you see that white area on her robe. It just, that robe, that part is kind of popping out a little bit more. And so I like to leave little highlights like that. But where I leave them really doesn't matter. I am not super concerned about my light source, and I'm just kind of putting the color on until I'm happy. And the good thing about watercolors is that you can remove some of that color. So I can get my brush wet and bring it to my image, wet that area where I don't want the color, and use my paper towel to blot it off, and it'll remove quite a bit of that pigment. It might not remove all of it, but it will remove enough that it will give you that highlight that you're looking for. So for her eyes, I just used a little bit of that. I think it was the Raven. I watered it down a lot to just make it a really soft gray color, just to give her eyes a little bit more dimension. And then I'm going to color in the pupils of her eyes. I think I did the 70s. I think I combined the 70s eyeshadow and maybe butterfly for like a blue color eye. So, and for her cup, I believe I colored it the same as I colored her cheeks, just to kind of make that blend and kind of match. So my favorite part about coloring stamps is coloring the background when I'm watercoloring. So you won't see me fussy cut a lot of my stamped images out when I'm watercoloring, because this is my favorite part. I like to create a really watery wash blended background. I don't even know how to describe it. I put down a lot of water, and then I'll bring in the color that I want for my background. This, I'm just using like a blue color. Maybe she's standing outside on her deck enjoying the crisp, cool air while she drinks her coffee. I don't know, but I just wanted to have a blue shadow around her. So I come in and I just add the deepest color right up against the image, and then I will clean off my brush and pull that color out until it fades off into the background. And then I also like to ground my image, so I'm using a couple different colors. I used like I think I used the Kiss Kiss color at first, but I didn't like it, and then so I wiped that up a little bit, and then I came in with a darker blue and a black, and that's just to ground the image so that it looks like she's standing on something and not just kind of hovering in midair. And then I do use my heat tool quite a bit when I'm watercoloring, if I'm trying to do it in one section or one session, just to speed up the dry time so that I can go and move from section to section, so I'm not coloring one wet area against another wet area. So I added a little bit of shimmer with the, not the Wink of Stella, but the other one, the Spectrum Noir glitter pen. So I added my favorite sentiment from this stamp set and did a little simple die cutting and added that to my card base and called it good. I love these one layer cards when I'm watercoloring. I think the watercoloring really speaks for itself and it doesn't need a whole lot of embellishment. I hope you enjoy the Stamp Stash Saturday series and this first episode using Kraftin Kimmie stamps. I think it's going to be a great challenge to go through my stamps and use all those stamps that I haven't used before and kind of share that process with you guys here on YouTube. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. That tells me that you do want to see more videos like this. Don't forget to subscribe and click on that bell to be notified for when my next video comes out, which should be Monday. So I will see you guys then. Bye.